Good morning and welcome to Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Midlands online worship service. I am Monica Hughes, worship associate for this morning's service. If you haven't already, please type in the chat box who you are and who you've brought with you today. Unitarian Universalism is a welcoming and inclusive religion and encourage us to keep open hearts and minds because our own experiences, conscience, and reason are the final authorities in religion. It affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person and that we are all connected with each other and the earth. If you are visiting us today, a special welcome to you. We appreciate you spending some of your Sunday morning service with us. If you have any questions, please let us know in the chat box, by phone, or through our Facebook page. If you've been attending for some time and have come to feel that this is your spiritual home and you are considering becoming a member of the fellowship, please contact our minister, Eric Severson, or a member of the welcome team, or let us know your interest in the chat box. If you have a chalice or a candle at home and would like to join us in our chalice lighting remotely, now would be a good time to get that ready. We will be including joys and sorrows this morning as we normally do during the service. If you will want to find the participant icon and raise your hand for that. Now we have an online donation option which we will introduce after service. Today is Birthday Recognition Sunday. If you've had or will have a birthday in May, or we missed yours in April, please raise your hand in the participant area of your screen or type your birthday in the chat box. Wendy will acknowledge you by name.
Happy birthday, Jill or Jim. Happy birthday, Shayna. Happy birthday, Suzanne. Happy birthday, John. Does anybody else have a birthday they wish to share with us? Happy birthday, Liam. Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday, Kevin. Happy birthday, Jill. For those who have just joined us, if your birthday is this month or if we missed your birthday last month, please type in the chat box or raise your hand so we can acknowledge your birthday. Happy birthday, everybody. Thank you, Monica.
Now, with your mics muted, please join Donna and Kevin King in singing Happy Birthday, Everybody.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear everyone. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Donna and Kevin. If you have children or grandchildren who would like to participate, online religious education sessions will be today and future Sundays at 1 p.m. The Zoom invitation will be posted in the UUFOM Parent Circle Facebook group, or you can email Heather at DREHeather, HEATHER, @UUFOM.org for more information. Watch your email for our Candle Flame newsletter on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Email office@uufom.org to subscribe or if you have an item to submit. We have a few announcements on the screen. Next week's service will be The Calling of Our Hearts, led by Eric Severson. Do you love what you do? Whether you work in or outside your home, what does your heart call to you? What are the barriers? Come explore how vocation matters and how it might change through a lifetime. Also, Shannon Sonoris is hosting a weekly virtual games in the Presidential Suite on Fridays in May at 3 p.m. Zoom link is available in the Candle Flame or on our Facebook group. Also, Roy Wedge is hosting a one-time virtual gathering, Hobbies for the Pandemic, is meeting on Tuesday, May 5th at 1 p.m. Contact Roy to sign up. Catherine Young is hosting a one-time virtual gathering, Grow Your Own Tomatoes in a Container. We will meet on Wednesdays, May 6th at 10 a.m. Contact Catherine to sign up. Also, our website content will be changing. Please send pictures and content to Wendy Altmer. And now we have a quick message from Beth Sperry.
Well, hello again. Beth Sperry here for one last announcement about the Wonderland Tea Party auction. I don't have a Mad Hatter hat, but I do have this festive pink Tea Party hat to wear. I just really hope it fits down the rabbit hole. So the live auction via Zoom is next Saturday, May 9th at 6 o'clock. The silent auction is happening right now via Bidding Owl. So if you haven't started bidding yet, follow the link in the Candle Flame and place your bids. You'll also see the live auction items on the Bidding Owl site, so you can plan your bidding strategy for Saturday. As usual, we have some really cool offerings. Wow, this year we are so pleased to have chosen the Bridge Center as our nonprofit entity. The Bridge Center is a nonprofit organization comprised of Great Lakes Bay residents of all races and ethnicities who dedicate their time to achieve tolerance, understanding, and acceptance of racial differences. So we have a special guest this morning who will tell us more about what the Bridge Center does. I'm honored now to introduce Coral Dean, the Executive Co-Director of the Bridge Center. Coral?
Hi, good morning. I hope you all can hear me. So as was mentioned, my name is Coral, and I'm here to tell you about the Bridge Center. We are a small nonprofit organization that seeks to create an environment of racial harmony, community commitment, and a value of inclusion and equality for all. One of the ways we do this is by hosting the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Youth Symposium. It's held in early February at SVSU, and we invite students from all of the area high schools and a few middle schools to join us for a day of activities and discussions that encourage them to embrace each other's differences. Our hope is that by giving the younger generation a safe space to discuss the vital issues that are affecting their families, friends, and communities, we can bring out their strengths so that they can fight for justice and demand equality. So we can empower them to stand up for themselves and everyone they love. We do what we can to ensure that our community, our Great Lakes Bay region, grows into a community without prejudices, a community that comes together when the world around us is falling apart. Thank you again for giving us the opportunity to speak today. We truly are grateful for it.
Thank you, Coral. Now, if you have a candle or chalice at home and would like to light it, please do so. Our chalice lighting words today are titled Out of the Flames by Sarah Elaine Lawal. Please join me in reading the words on your screen. Out of the flames of fear, we rise with courage of our deepest convictions. Light it. To stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith. With hope to heal a fractured and hurting world, out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames we rise. Our opening words today are by Mike Johnson. It is always good to give thanks. All that we have is a gift from life. Our food, our relationships, our shelter from the cold. And when we give thanks, it is always good to be mindful of all people and notice those who are suffering and do what we can to ease suffering and change its causes. Today, we give thanks and we explore suffering. We must always do both together so that our hearts are strong for the journey. With your mics muted, please join Donna and Kevin King in singing our opening hymn, Blue Boat Home.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my island heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I fly the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting you with my ship's companion, all we can pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. Next, we have Denise Reiling reading the story for all ages. Thank you.
CJ pushed through the church doors, skipped down the steps. The outside air smelled like freedom, but it also smelled like rain, which freckled CJ's shirt and dripped down his nose. He ducked under his Nana's umbrella, saying, "How come we gotta wait for the bus and all this wet?" "Trees get thirsty too," his Nana told him. "Don't you see that big one drinking through a straw?" CJ looked for a long time, but he never saw a straw. From the bus stop, he watched water pool on flower petals, watched rain patter against the windshield of a nearby car. His friend Colby climbed in the car and gave CJ a wave and drove off with his dad. "Nana, how come we don't got a car?" "Boy, what do we need a car for? We got a bus that breathes fire. And old Mr. Dennis, who always has a trick for you." The bus creaked to a stop in front of them. It sighed and sagged, and the doors swung open. "What's that I see?" Mr. Dennis asked. He pulled a coin from behind CJ's ear and placed it in his palm. Nana laughed her deep laugh and pushed CJ along. They sat right up front. The man across the way was tuning a guitar. An old woman with curlers and butterflies in a jar. Nana gave everyone a great big smile and a good afternoon. She made sure CJ did the same. The bus lurched forward and stopped, lurched forward and stopped. Nana hummed as she knit. "How come we always got to go here after church?" CJ said. "Miguel and Colby never have to go nowhere." "I feel sorry for those boys," she told him. "They'll never get a chance to meet Bobo or the Sunglass Man, and I hear Trixie's got herself a brand new hat." CJ stared out the window, feeling sorry for himself. He watched cars zip by on either side, watched a group of boys hop curbs on bikes. A man climbed aboard with a spotted dog. CJ gave up his seat. How come that man can't see? "Boy, what do you know about seeing?" Nana told him. "Some people watch the world with their ears." "That's a fact. Their noses too," the man said, sniffing at the air. "That's a mighty fine perfume you're wearing today, ma'am." Nana squeezed the man's hand and laughed her deep laugh. Two older boys got on next. CJ watched as they moved on by and stood in the back. "Sure wish I had one of those," he said. Nana set down her knitting. "What for? You got the real life thing sitting across from you. Why don't you ask the man if he'll play us a song?" CJ didn't have to. The guitar player was already plucking strings and began to sing. "To feel the magic of music," the blind man whispered, "I'd like to close my eyes." Nana closed hers too. So did CJ and the spotted dog. And in the darkness, the rhythm lifted CJ out of the bus, out of the busy city. He saw sunset colors swirling over crashing waves. He saw a family of hawks sliding through the air. Saw the old woman's butterflies dance free in the light of the moon. CJ's chest grew full and he was lost in the sound, and the sound gave him the feeling of magic. The song ended and CJ opened his eyes. Everyone on the bus clapped, even the boys in the back. Nana glanced at the coin in CJ's palm, and CJ dropped it in the man's hat. "Last stop on Market Street," Mr. Dennis called. CJ looked around as he stepped off the bus. Crumbling sidewalks and broken down doors, graffiti-tagged windows and boarded up stores. He reached out for his Nana's hand. How come it's always so dirty over here? She smiled and pointed to the sky. Sometimes when you're surrounded by dirt, CJ, you're a better witness for what is beautiful. CJ saw a perfect rainbow arcing over their soup kitchen. He wondered how his Nana always found beautiful, but he never even thought to look. He looked all around them again, at the bus rounding the corner out of sight, and the broken street lamp still lit up bright, and the stray cat shadows moving across the wall. When he spotted their familiar faces in the window, he said, "I'm glad we came." He thought his Nana might laugh her deep laugh, but she didn't. She patted him on the head and told him, "Me too, CJ. Now, come on." I invite you to now center yourselves and enter into a time of reflection, meditation, or prayer. Today's meditation is from Black Lives Matter, September 2018. Spirit of life, we are grateful for the ground beneath our feet, which steadies us and holds us up when life meets us with unexpected and perilous challenges. We are grateful for the water inside us, source of our holy tears and sacred sweat, which remind us that we are right to be equal parts vulnerability and strength. We are grateful for the breath that animates our speech so that we might exchange greetings of compassion and joy with one another, giving hope and inspiration when and where it is needed most. We are grateful for the quickening in our spirits, which calls us to nurture our dreams and kindle the flames of our passions so that we might lead lives of impact and meaning. We affirm that we are worthy of life when circumstances suggest otherwise. We affirm that we are worthy of love when traversing paths where lovelessness abounds. We affirm that we are bearers of truth, talking back boldly to structures of oppression. We affirm that we are bearers of faith in ourselves and in each other's capacity to bring justice. We lift up our hearts, beautiful and bruised, as an offering to life. Today, we will live in the awareness of our potential, allowing the best that we might do to lead us, grateful for the chance to return to the home of our souls again. Today's reading is a parable of the Good Samaritan. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he asked, "so what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "What is written in the law?" he replied. "How do you read it?" He answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this and you will live." But he wanted to justify himself. So he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. He put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. "Look after him," he said, "and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have." Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. And Jesus told him, go and do likewise.
Let's share now in an interlude called Partita I from O God, O Holy God by Johann Sebastian Bach, played for us today by Melanie Wilson.
Each of us assembled here today has come with a heavy heart, a burdened mind, and many needs. No one here today is without want of something. It has become trite to say that none of us alive has lived through more troubled times, not even 9/11, the day we feared that our freedoms as we knew them were ending. Little could we have foreseen this future. What makes this moment in time more monumental is the fact that every single person alive in the world today is at risk. Mr. Rogers taught us to look for helpers when in trouble, but who is there to save us? Who is not themselves in some level of peril? Who is there to save us when even those who are supposed to save our lives are themselves dying? Some have said that we are all in the same boat, but that is untrue. We may all be weathering the same storm, but we are not all in the same boat. Some are cruising the stormy waters on a luxury ocean liner, pretty much untouched by the turmoil. Some are in a battleship, more than ready to meet the challenge. Some are in a rowboat, but rowing as fast as they can because their boat has a hole in it. They might drown. Some are clinging to a life raft with both hands, not able to spare even one hand to signal for help. The bodies of others are in the water, like buoys battered by the waves with no shelter from the storm. Many will never reach a safe shore. Globally and in the United States, we know that COVID-19 is disproportionately claiming the lives of people of color, ethnic minorities, and immigrant and indigenous populations. Native American groups are experiencing disproportionately high levels of morbidity and mortality, and yet the U.S. Treasury Department still has not released any of the $8 billion that was to be distributed among the tribes as guaranteed by the CARES Act, which was signed by the President on March 27th. Reliable data are hard to come by. Many who are in a position to know have identified Native Americans as perhaps the hardest hit by this virus. These dire conditions remain hidden and neglected, tucked away in our collective unconsciousness, as if their lives had nothing to do with ours. Others in peril have been physically removed. Immigrant laborers still working in our fields as we stay sheltered in our homes. Those who crossed our borders seeking a better life now finding themselves trapped in detention camps, their children in cages. Those in our prisons having mostly Black and brown skin, artifacts of systemic and institutional racism, the need to feed the ever-hungry prison industrial complex, fueled by race-based drug policies and racism within the criminal justice system, a fact that is acknowledged even by our own Department of Justice. It is well documented that African Americans and Hispanic populations throughout the United States are experiencing disproportionately high levels of COVID-19 mortality and morbidity. In Michigan alone, African Americans are the population of highest concern. They account for less than 14% of our state's population. But as of April 30th, they accounted for 41% of the mortality. I'd like to repeat those numbers. In Michigan, African Americans represent 14% of our state's population, but they are accounting for 41% of mortality from COVID-19. Awareness of racial disparities in health has been well established for decades. Pre-existing health conditions of Black and brown-skinned people are contributing to their disproportionately high COVID morbidity and mortality. Many societal level contributing factors have been identified. Systemic structural racism, the lived daily experience of racism, function as an additive stressor that increases blood pressure, triggers asthma, and raises blood sugar levels. The legacy of slavery, as it continues to support economic, political, educational, and social disadvantage. The use of enslaved African women in the abusive gynecological experimentation of Dr. Marion Sims, and the abusive use of African American men during the Tuskegee Project are only two examples of numerous research misconduct that has left a legacy of mistrust in the medical profession, which is causing many African American people to delay receiving care. To be clear, it's not about how they live their lives. That's the problem. It's about how their lives play out within a social system over which they have been granted very little control and very little power and very few resources. Now, if this were my university classroom at this point, I would remind the students that this would be an excellent point to write down, and they could expect to see a question on their exam. So let me state that one more time. It's not about how they live their lives. It's about how their lives play out within a social system over which they have been granted very little control, very little power, and very few resources. Now, I'm not going to ask you whether you care about these Black and brown skinned souls. I'm not going to ask you to open your hearts to them. I have no need to. I have no need to plead, because I know that even though your hearts are so burdened at this moment with your own problems and the problems of those in your family and among your friends, your hearts are not closed to the troubles of others. If that were not so, you would not have made this your spiritual home. So whether your hearts are in the right place is not the problem. The problem is, where do you place your hands? Now, research shows us that pro-social behavior requires several things of us. First, we must notice that someone needs help. And this is not an easy task. Some people hide their needs. Not everyone's needs look the same as ours, so we don't recognize the need when we're looking right at it. Sometimes our needs are so satisfied that it never occurs to us that not everyone enjoys the same conditions. Comfort can make us complacent. Ignorance of the living circumstances of others can make even the best intentioned person unintentionally selfish. Second, we must decide that those in need deserve help. Resources are limited. That's what we're told. This judgment stems from the just world perspective. People get what they deserve and they deserve what they get. Sentiment of this sort can be found within every major world religion. It may seem repugnant to make such judgment, but sociologically, the question functions as a mechanism of social control. We see this in the parable of the Good Samaritan. Two holy men walked by, but the Samaritan, who knew the sting of judgment to be cast out, tended the man without question, and then provided for his care when he was no longer able to give care himself. Even trickier, we must determine what help is needed. There may be factors that we do not understand and complexities that we cannot see. Resources are far too often wasted because we do not know enough about the boat of other people to make good decisions about tools and resources needed for the repairs. The last step requires that we convince ourselves that we have the ability to help. Will we offend a person or a group by offering to help? Will the way we help be offensive? Could we make things worse for them? What if our help is not wanted? Will we look like a fool if our efforts fail? These questions are particularly troublesome when the skin color of the helper and the person in need do not match. In fact, whiteness can be a barrier of insecurity to white people helping, despite our open hearts, open minds, and open hands. Now, I want you to take heart. I would ask you to close your eyes for a moment, if that feels comfortable to you. If not, then certainly keep your eyes open. I want you to picture yourself in your boat in this storm. Behind your closed eyes, I want you to look around. Do you see? Do you see what I see? Do you see that there are tugboats in the water? You all know the tugboat, the mighty boat that looks like it can't do anything, and yet it can safely guide a barge loaded with cargo into shore. If you look closely, you should be able to see that one of the tugboats bears a name. The name of that tugboat is UU. It's the UU tugboat. Emblazoned across another. You see the name? The name emblazoned on its side is the Bridge Center. Now please open your eyes. Nonprofit organizations such as these create a bridge between the person or group that needs help and the organization that knows how to help. As much as we may want to help, our boots are not always the best ones to have on the ground. But there is a place for us in the system of helping, because tugboats need fuel to run. And guess what? As you all know, you need money to buy fuel. Donating to a nonprofit organization such as our UU Fellowship or the Bridge Center enables those with the knowledge, expertise, and most importantly, community level understandings and connections to actually do the work. Within our fellowship, our pastor, Eric, and our pastoral care team respond to the needs of members and friends of our fellowship in ways that each of us as individuals might not be able to do as effectively. Our contribution to the Bridge Center through our auction will enable community level programming created by those who best know the communities they serve too. Within our UU, we have the Love Team, comprised of 4 social justice areas: hunger and housing, the environment, LGBTQ+, and racial justice. Through participation in this programming, those who choose to do so can become more effective boots on the ground. For justice requires action, not just reaction. To be just, we must consider the condition of other people's boats. We must learn about the storms their boats have carried them through. We must demonstrate compassion without judgment in face of the damage done. We must support them as they find their sea legs once again. And we must make it possible for them to build stronger boats. So no, it's not just about throwing money at a problem. Justice depends upon more than financial resources. We must commit to undoing systems of generational and institutional prejudice, privilege, and preference that create, justify, and sustain inequalities. And yet, let's not fail to realize that only the privileged have the luxury of discounting the importance of their money. As I close today, I would like to dedicate the message I just brought to you to a very dear friend of mine whose name was Marilyn. Marilyn just happened to be African American. The fact that she recently died of COVID-19 is not as coincidental. I thank you for your attendance and your kind attention to my words today. Thank you.
We affirm the work of this fellowship and its mission through our financial contributions. We continue to rely on you paying off your pledges and providing what you would otherwise drop in the collection plate. While our in-person activities may be suspended, our staff continue working hard to provide the services we need. They and the bills still need to be paid. Please give as generously as you can, and may what you give bring you joy. Please take this time to write a check if you wish and mail it to the fellowship at 6220 Jefferson Avenue, Midland, Michigan, 48640. To donate online, please stay after the service for instructions. Another option is to set up a bank auto pay, which can be arranged by asking the treasurer for the UUFOM checking account number and then having your bank set up a regular payment from your account. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Melanie. Now with your mics muted, please join Donna and Kevin in singing our closing hymn, We'll Build a Land.
We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness flows all morning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring our good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and give them garlands instead of oranges. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
Thank you, Kevin and Donna and Melanie. As we end our time together, let us consider these words by Darcy Rope. There is too much hardship in the world to not find joy every day. There is too much injustice in this world to not right the balance every day. There is too much pain in this world not to heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us now go forth and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of the divine presence every day. Thank you to everyone who helped make this service possible today, and thank you all for joining us. If you can stay to chat, great. If you need to go, we understand. Whatever you may encounter in the coming week, please know that the love of this community goes with you. Until we are together again, many blessings. Blessed be.